this monologue, the Winter's Tale monologue, written by William Shakespeare. I'm playing the character of Leontes, which again I said in my explanation. So this monologue was a tricky one to get my head around because this was my second classical monologue, and there weren't really the biggest reason why it weren't first. I think I just felt that the Henry VI monologue had more of a variety than the Rare Birds monologue, hence why I chose that for my contrasting monologues, which I used for my Leeds Conservatoire audition. Yeah, so this monologue is a bit of context about the piece. Just again, I'll quickly run through it so that if I missed anything through the explanation that I've learnt now over actually doing the piece, then we'll do that. So this piece happens when Leontes is convinced that his wife is cheating on him, and he's talking to someone. That's like, there's not much context. He's talking to someone, which is I'll get to later on. But that's the context of the piece. He's convinced that she is cheating on him. Hence the line, "Go, playboy, play, thy mother plays." So obviously in those times that weren't acceptable for a wife to be cheating on him. But again, in those times it was okay for the man to be. Hence, thy mother plays and so do I, but so disgraced apart. So getting straight into it with the rehearsal ones from this. This was worked on with both JMR and Jordan Fleming, who I've worked with before. He came down to help out with a monologue repertoire day, in which I chose this one to work on, and this was from the start up. So before the rehearsal footage, it was quite bare. It was all done on one day, so it was fresh in my head, because that's one thing which I've learnt from Tom Holland. Tom Holland said in an interview, he said it was on I believe it was on the Hot Ones interview. Whatever interview it was on, if I am wrong, it will be in the description. The full Harvard reference will be in the description of this video. So just to make sure, and obviously to put research in, but Tom Holland said when talking about one of his upcoming movies that he learns his lines the day of, and that's for one reason and one reason only, to keep it in his head. Robert Downey Jr. told him to do that, and that was a bit of advice which he kept through. Me as a person, I can get quite stressed if I did that, to learn all my lines in one day, and also it wouldn't show that I'm prepared. So I've taken that advice from Tom Holland and I've used it in a different way. And the way I used it in this was to do all of my rehearsal takes and my final take all in one day, to make sure that all of the feedback that I'm getting, all of the work that I'm putting into it is all in one day and the momentum stays throughout. So this monologue started off very generic. It was okay, it was good. Movement was involved. The power was shown in my character quite easily, showing that he's a king. And I told the story quite well vocally through my intention. But it was just a bit generic in terms of the monologue didn't really go on a story. And also one thing as well, which was my eye line and who I was talking to, which I said I'll get onto and I'll talk about now. On the first run through, my eye line, I was looking all over the place. Which obviously, if you're talking to one person, you don't look all over the place. You talk to that person and that person only. So what me and Jordan decided for the second monologue, for the second rehearsal of this monologue, was to direct it to someone. So I went away and I thought about who am I talking to. Now I felt through the lines "Thy mother plays," and "Go play boy." I felt that this was a young person and a child, and in fact a child of Leontes, the character. I wanted my own interpretation of this, so I made sure to not look at any predetermined. I made sure to not look at any videos which made me have predetermined movements and ideas in my head. I wanted it to be fresh and original as it possibly could be with a Shakespearean piece. So I try not to look at many things from this so that I didn't base my work off something else, which I found also with my screen lesson when we started the auto cue, when I did a Doctor Who piece, a little section off a Doctor Who monologue. Because I'd watched it so many times and I'd chosen that piece, I knew exactly how Matt Smith performed it, whereas not how I performed it. So I didn't have my own take on it. I just performed it how Matt Smith did. So that's one of the things that I was working on, knowing how to do that and have my own idea of it. The eye contact and who I was talking to, we decided that it would be my child of about 7 years. Now, obviously, when I go into the more detailed things of the monologue, it wouldn't be appropriate for said 7-year-old to listen to that stuff. So we decided to add a little pause in just after I say "Go play boy play" the second time, to watch him go off and play. And because of that, again, going with the directing part of it, which again Jordan helped me with from the outside perspective, if I had watched my child go and play, I then wouldn't say at the end of the play, "How now, boy?" So we took that bit out to, number one, take that thread out, which again we've learned about in directing, and also to take out like a weird ending in terms of the characteristics, because it flicks it. That's what I found in the actual rehearsals. When I did say "How now, boy" at the end of it, it was a bit random and out of the ordinary. Again, obviously there's no context to the piece from the audience's perspective. So, yeah, to have that just pop up out of nowhere, we decided let's just get rid of it so that it ended on a good note, and it all made sense and it all linked together. It didn't affect the time that much. Again, it was all within the time that we were supposed to have it in. And then, like, the final take of it, the one that I chose, was Jordan told me to go away for half an hour and think about how to make my movement different, because he's seen me act before, so he knows exactly what, like, my physicality is, my kind of go-to little habits that I do, little characteristics that I put in characters, stuff like that. He knows all of that, and that's again part of my variety target, to show that change in physicality and that variety and versatility. so he helped me with that, and that's one which has been really tough for me in terms of me as a person, not even me as an actor, me as a person, trying to get my head around how I can do things differently. And I'm still struggling with it, hence why it's still a target for me. But I'm still struggling, and that's why it was so important for me to break that barrier on that final rehearsal and just let go. Because I'm always a little bit self-conscious of what people are seeing, how they're seeing me, and how they're seeing me act. Because again, I know a certain way that I act, and if I do something which is very unexpected and doesn't go down well, then I'm like, me as a person, I'm not going to be as happy or as motivated for that piece. And I enjoy doing this piece, so I didn't want to ruin it. Because Shakespeare is not something which I enjoy doing as much as a contemporary piece. But if I'm doing a piece, I'm going to put 100% into it no matter what, and all of my motivation that I possibly can. And he told me to just let go. Jordan, he told me to just let go and just try something new. Don't block out my movements, because I had blocked movements. Same with all of my pieces. Like, for example, in Henry VI, one movement was this, tugging to be victors, which I thought was good, but again, for the feedback for this one, for the Winter's Tale, stuff like that. Don't do the same thing in every piece, just do a bit different. So anyway, it was the end of the day, and I did exactly that. Everyone was in the room, and I was like, I'm just going to let go and see where it takes me. See if I can have a breakthrough moment. And I felt it, like, after watching it back, I felt that it was a lot more... Weirdly, it felt a lot more thought out and a lot more real, which is something that I do want to take into every performance, and that might be the way forward. Just letting go, it's something that I'll have to think about a lot, because again, this was successful. It still could have work, and next time I come to a monologue, or if I ever revisit this one after this final take of it, it's something that I will definitely be aware of, just letting go and then going from there. Because I feel if I let go at the start, then that'll keep me using new ideas that pop up and experimenting with physicality, and that might be a breakthrough for that target, potentially. Again, I don't know until it actually happens, but the seed has been planted in my head now. So the movement felt a lot more interesting, and it grabbed me in, even though I've like read it and performed this monologue so many times. It felt a lot more like I didn't do every move on purpose, and I think that was just because of, even though we talked about who I'm talking to and then what it kind of changes to. So we started it off as he's talking to his kid, and then it moves to, it's a bit of a soliloquy. He's kind of talking to himself. That kind of thought process, I think, helped me a lot, and that was my main focus of the piece when performing it, was who I'm talking to. So, all in all, that final piece felt a lot more real, both to perform and to watch. And people in the back, so obviously, like, I'm recording in the studio and I don't see people in the main room, but I heard that Jordan jumped out of his seat and was saying that's exactly what we want to see more of. And he said, don't let this momentum drop. When I came back into the room, he told me, don't let this momentum drop. Carry on performing like that, and carry on doing things just off the cuff, experimenting with movement, vocality, changing the rhythms in your speech. And that could be the thing that pushes you as an actor, which again motivated me a hell of a lot. And I'm ready to do the next piece of performing. But this piece, The Winter's Tale, I was happy that I got a chance to do this one, because out of all of the monologues, this is the most famous one. Again, I know that, and I've tried to not look at anything to again get my own thoughts on the piece. But there's only so much you can do with a famous piece, and there's only so much you can change yourself, and I think that I've put my own style into it on that final product. So yeah.